Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here with Miss Denise Mcfadden from the Office of Personal Development, and we're going to talk about some advice or recommendations for students looking for careers or internships. Without further ado, is there any particular internships that you might recommend for someone who's not sure where they want to work yet?
So absolutely. I think the biggest piece comes down to really understanding about yourself. So a lot of students may not know exactly what they want to do, but some have an understanding of what they don't want to do. So it really comes down to looking at those don'ts and then really classifying it down from there. So what I usually tell students to do is look at job descriptions of people or titles and companies that you like, and then look over those job descriptions. And that usually will pinpoint an opportunity to where they'll start searching for those types of internships. And of course, then we tell them meet with a career coach because our career coaches will really uncover some of those areas. Of course, the My Plan assessment that some students may have taken in the past will really also highlight some of the areas that they may like. And we'll really go over those as well. So really, to fully answer your question, if a student really doesn't know what they want, then it's really going to be hard to find. And you really will have to narrow it down to really look at what is it you don't want to do, and let's and not looking towards those, but looking towards others. Sometimes you may also want to look at business operations where you're going to get bits and pieces where you can move around the organization. So we'll tend to look at those for students that are just unsure of what they want to do. So,
All right. What are some of the best ways that a student can show authenticity during an interview?
oh, the number one thing I can say is when you're in an interview, don't over practice your interview. So I'll have students and even professionals when they're practicing their interview fully write out the answer on a piece of paper and study it. And what happens with that, it's just like when you took a speech class, you then regurgitate the information, but if you skip a word, you're going to forget what your sentence was or what your main point was. So I tell students, put it down in bullet points. Practice saying it in bullet points versus writing it fully down, and then it will show more of your true self coming out instead of over rehearsed. I would also suggest when they're in an interview is really showing and highlighting why they really presented or applied for that particular position. A recruiter wants to see that you're excited for the opportunity and explain that and why you're excited. If you're not excited for the opportunity, then why waste your time and apply? So it will come across that you're super authentic when you're excited about the role. So I would just, again, two big pieces or two big points is don't over practice because you can become like super uptight in those interviews and your true self won't come through. But then when you're really practicing or when you're in that particular interview, you want to just highlight the big pieces of why you're there, and really pinpoint why you like those positions. And that really will then come across to a recruiter that you're authentic and you really do like the role so that they can hire you for it or be considered for it.
Absolutely. So how important is involvement with student organizations to employers?
It depends on the employer. And I say that because some employers just want to see that you can multitask, and you can do that outside of a club and organization by joining any kind of groups outside of those. So doing volunteer work, possibly working in your church, doing part-time jobs. So it really depends on the companies, but in more so the university settings, they do like to see some students in the clubs and organizations because you're being exposed to a lot of different things, and it's professional advancement, it's getting you exposed to the companies that are in there. But again, you can do those things on your own. You just have to be able to sell it to the company and explain what else are you doing. So I will say a majority of organizations, the bigger organizations, want to see that clubs and organization on the resume so that they see that you're not just going to school and studying. They want to see that you're involved a little bit more, want to give back. And that will also kind of go to, what does the company stand for? Are they looking for, the pieces on, giving back? And if that's the case, then it's particular events that they're looking for. But more so, if they're in a club and organization. They additionally like to see those leadership roles, but you can do that in sports and become a leader, or you can be a leader in your job, or any of extracurricular activities that are taking place. So it really depends on the organization, but overall, being involved in something shows that you're going above and beyond, because we want to see if you can play nice in a sandbox, right? Can you interact with other people? Can you work in a team environment? And can you show up to the meetings on time and really put your best foot forward? So depends.
Absolutely. How would you say students could tailor their resume with prior job experience if it's not really related to the field that they're going for?
We've got a lot a question because let's say, and again, I'll talk about undergraduate students, where they think their Publix experience or their hospitality experience isn't related to the job. But a lot of roles it is. It's showing that you've got communication skills based on if you're a cashier, and if you did it for more than, let's say, 3 months, 6 months and more, it shows that you can effectively communicate with your coworkers, but also the employee or your patrons as they're coming through. Same thing with hospitality. You're showing that you can thrive in an upbeat and fast environment. You've got conflict resolution, because not often do you come to work and never have an issue, right? So those jobs do matter and they are relevant. It really depends on what the job description is saying. Now, if they're asking you more for, let's say, accounting work, well, maybe you want to point out the ideas or the points in your resume of how you had attention to detail. So what specifically did you have to do in that particular job that outlined those attention to detail things, and where can you show that you had that experience? So it'll matter based on the job description, but if a student really doesn't have specifics and exactly what they're looking for, look for those soft skills, because recruiters still are looking for those too. They want to just, again, make sure that I can teach you something, you obtain the knowledge, and can help the organization grow too. So it really depends. And I feel like I'm saying that a lot for these questions, but it does depend on the organization and what your particular background and experience is.
Absolutely. So let's say if I'm looking for an internship and I find one in my community, could I still get credit for it, or would it have to be through OPD?
Great question. So internships can come from anywhere. We don't care if you learned from it from a faculty member, from a family friend, found it on LinkedIn, through Knightline, the College of Business job board for students at UCF, or Handshake. The more meat and bones of the internship program is looking at mentorship. What are you learning? Does it have enough hours that are there? We want our students to really get ingrained in the organization and the work and be able to take away something when they end the internship. So it really doesn't matter how the student found the internship, but we do reach out to the organization to verify that it's going to be a great learning experience for our students. So it doesn't matter where they find the job, we'll help them work towards getting it approved for their internship for credit.
Absolutely. So what are some ways that a student can stand out in an interview, either virtually or in person?
So I'll start with in an interview. In an interview, you really want to put your best foot forward. So you really want to show enthusiasm. You want to research the company. We want, as recruiters, to see that you've done your work. And when we're interviewing a candidate, we're seeing if it's a good fit for the candidate, but also a good fit for us. And the way that we can kind of judge that a little bit is, if you're interested, you're really going to start diving into the company and seeing what they're about and what is the roles like, maybe what's the culture like. Those are things for a recruiter, if it's brought up, and the hiring managers, that we're looking to see. So if it's brought up, we're excited and it shows you're excited about the role and you went a step further than just applying. We're also looking in a virtual environment, right? Like smiling and showing enthusiasm. I hope that I've portrayed I'm excited about this talk, because I love to teach and to give back. And those are the things that students, when they're interviewing, should also be doing the same thing, is showing your excitement for the role. Why did you apply? If you're, haven't received an interview just yet, those same aspects can come across in a cover letter. Like, tell them why you're excited specifically about the role. Maybe pull out some bullet points from the actual job description and tell them how your background aligned with that and why you're excited. The second part of your question you asked, in virtually, you can do the same thing as it relates to kind of LinkedIn, like send a message on there and tell them you're impressed with the company, their background, and really show why. It really comes down to your authenticity. So how excited are you about the role? And that will come across, and then it will make recruiters and others excited about wanting to bring you on board as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That's all the time that we have. I thank you, Ms. Mcfadden, for your time and for the wonderful information. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.